I'm Stuart Cameron. Welcome to Friday's Look at Rugby. Last week, Melrose won the Battle of the Borders in the Premiership with a clinical display against Hawick, winning the match 32-8. Nick Bevan scored a try in the first half, with Fraser Thompson scoring 2 in the second. Callum Anderson got 1 in injury time to secure the bonus point. Richard Mills' kicks kept the scoreboard ticking over, while Rory Hutton went over for the Greens' only try, Neil Rennick adding a penalty. Well, indiscipline let Hawick down in the first half in particular, with 2 yellow cards shown. That result and Ayr losing at home to Boroughmuir meant Melrose are zooming in on second place in the league, just 1 point behind Ayr now in third. Remember, the top 2 teams will get home advantage in the playoffs. Heriots are currently well in front, but that 4th spot, currently occupied by Gala, is the one everyone else is chasing. Gala's 21-8 win at home to Edinburgh Accies gave them 2 wins in a row, and all the points were scored in the first period, including 3 tries from Rory Howarth, Grant Shields and Gary Graham. Well, the big match tomorrow in the Premiership is the one that I'll be going to. It's at Golden Acre between Heriots and Melrose. Usually we get a high-scoring game with plenty of running rugby when these 2 teams lock horns, and there's no reason why we won't have the same in this game. Melrose hoping to do the double, of course, of the league leaders and bring back the Bill McLaren Shield to the green yards. But the Nails know that if they win the game, they'll have the right to have their name inscribed on the trophy, along with Ayr, the only other side so far who have successfully defended the Shield for 4 matches, which is what you have to do to get your name on the prize. Well, the surprise call-up to the Scotland squad, Hugh Blake, played for Melrose last week, and he's in the side again tomorrow, so that will certainly create a lot of interest. Blake coming back from injury and as yet hasn't played for his pro club Edinburgh. He's got Scottish grandparents from Edinburgh and Glasgow, so he's Scottish qualified because of that, but his selection has created some controversy, and we'll hear Scotland head coach Vern Cotter's thoughts on that later on in the programme. Let's have a look at the Melrose squad then. Fraser Thompson captaining out of fullback, Tito Mua and Callum Anderson on the wings, Tom Galbraith and Andrew Nagle the centre partnership. Number 10 will be Richard Mill with Bruce Colvin at scrum half. In the front row, Nick Bevan, Richard Ferguson and Ewan McQuillan, James Head and Lewis Carmichael in the boiler house, and Neil Irvin Hess is back from injury. He'll wear the number 6 jersey, Hugh Blake at 7 and Graham Dodds at 8 in a very tasty looking back row. On the bench will be Cameron Mackay, Nicky Little, Grant Runciman back from New Zealand, Murdo McAndrew and Joe Helps, and Joe Helps will be a welcome return for Melrose there. Gala visit Boroughmuir at Meggetland, hoping for 3 wins in a row, but they'll also be wary of Muir's return to form last week when they beat Ayr, of course, but the Maroons should be good enough to put them away. Let's have a look at their team. Fullback Rory Howarth, on the wings Graham Spears and Grant Somerville, Ewan Scott and Chris Auld are the centre partnership, George Graham captaining at scrum half, and at number 10 the ever-improving Rex Jeffrey. In the front row, Luke Petty, Russell Anderson and Ewan Johnston, Craig Borthwick and Chris Weir in the second row, Gary Graham, Scott Wilkinson and Ewan Dodds are in the back row. On the bench for Gala, Callum McIntosh, Gary Robertson, Peter Palapoi, Alan Emond and Craig Dodds, who gets back into the 20 following a couple of good performances for the seconds. On to Hawick now, and Hawick are on the road as well. They travel to Bridgehaw to take on Stirling County for what is quite simply a must-win game for them if they're going to have any say at all in the playoffs. Of course, during training on Thursday night, they had an interesting visitor, David Cameron, the Prime Minister, putting them through their paces, no doubt, and creating a little bit of banter. It'll be very interesting to see how they get on after their meeting with the number 1. Well, they line up similar to last week, with the exception of Keith Davis coming in at number 8. Lee Armstrong at fullback, Nicky Walker, Neil Rennick on the wings, John Coots and Scott McLeod, the centre partnership, and Greg Cottrell at 9, Rory Hutton captaining from fly half. Front row is Sean Muir, Ross Graham, Matthew Landals, Mike McKee and Bruce McNeil in the boiler house, Nick McTaggart, Ross Gibson and Keith Davis in the back row, Lindsay Gibson, Wally Blacklock, Michael Robertson, Sean Goodfellow and Matty Douglas are on the bench. Well, in National League One, Selkirk visit Aberdeen Grammar, trying to keep that unbeaten run going. It's absolutely amazing. 15 out of 15 so far in the league after their 8-3 win over Stumel at Philiphaugh last Saturday. Jed Forest are away at GHA. They welcome back Gregor and Lewis Young after they quit their contracts with Scotland Sevens. Now, that happened in December the 18th of last year, but for some reason they haven't been allowed to play for Jed Forest. That is until now. So welcome return for the twins from Jed. One of the reasons, of course, they gave for quitting their contracts was they weren't getting much game time. Well, they'll certainly be getting that at Jed Forest, and they'll be taking on GHA away from home tomorrow. Kelso have a tricky trip to Stewart's Melville, while Peebles are the only top-flight local club at home as they take on Mar, which will be our featured commentary match on Radio Borders tomorrow on Super Scoreboard Live from 2 o'clock with Keith Clarkson in the studio and Stuart McFarlane with Dale Clancy at the Guides. In other games locally, BT National League 3, it's West of Scotland against Hawick YM. The BT East League 1, Berwick v Dunbar, Duns against Portobello, Hawick Lundeen versus Hawick Quins in the Hawick Derby, Linlithgow against Langham, and North Berwick versus Dalkeith. In East League 2, it's Earlston against Forester. That will be a tough afternoon for Earlston. Forester, of course, in second place, only beaten the once this season by St Boswell's, and St Boswell's are away at Edinburgh Northern, trying to retain their unbeaten record as well, which now stretches well into the 30s. In BT East League 3, it's Gala YM against Broughton, and Ross High will take on Walkerburn. Well, finally today, some chat from Scotland head coach Vern Cotter, who spoke at a press conference on Tuesday about his provisional Scottish squad selection of 32 players for the RBS Six Nations.
It's always tough because you know that players are disappointed when they're not selected. But we also get the enjoyment of selecting players that are playing well and to give them an opportunity. The players that have been selected, if we look at someone like Ben Toulis, for example, I think he's been playing very well for Edinburgh. And Edinburgh have been performing well as of recent, and I think that's just an indication of his workload and his performances. He's been playing well. He's one of the top ball carriers at lock at the moment. He's also one of the best defenders. He's very good in the line-out for a big man. He's a young man, but I really like seeing players pushing the boundaries a bit, and really show they want to be part of the team. So himself, Sam Hidalgo-Klein, been playing very well. Gives us a kicking option. He's a goal kicker, very quick around the rucks, faster ball, suits the type of game we want to play, aggressive and confident. So those are sort of certain things that we're looking for in our players, and they're demonstrating them. I think it's good for Scottish rugby that both teams are performing well, and we'd like to see our exile players performing well in their respective clubs also. But like I say, there's certain players that really put their hands up, and David Denton's come back from injury, and I think he's performing well. And Hamish Watson comes back from injury. We didn't get a look at him during November. He'll be part of the squad, so we can have a look at his skill set and what he can bring to us. Tim Visser's playing well. Greg Tonks has been playing well. So then, these players, I think, have been rewarded for the games they're playing, and consequently the team's doing better. We know that this is a competition. We're probably not particularly well favoured in this competition, but we would like to challenge those. There's people that think that way and put in some good performances and use it. And we've got nothing to hide. We need to develop our game. We need to play in intense pressure, which this brings us, to prepare for the World Cup. So we're really looking forward to it. 3 games at home, great. I know the players will be very keen to put in good games here at BT Murrayfield in front of the home crowd. I mean, the crowd really helped us. And the atmosphere for the All Black game and the Argentinian game, we went away to Kilmarnock for the third one, but the supporters were still there. So I know the players, that's something that they really enjoy, and they'll want to do well again. There may be a couple of players added to the squad, but and depending on injuries, but we'll be training with between 32 and 34 players for the whole of the Six Nations. What I thought was important during the autumn test was the game against Tonga, the third game, where we changed tactics at half-time and the team was able to play differently. And that will be important going into Six Nations, especially World Cup. We play different types of opposition, teams that we haven't played against before, or a lot of. So being able to adapt and change tactics during the course of a game will be very important. Identifying threats, identifying opportunities, those types of things. Playing a kicking game, playing attacking games, those types of things we'll be looking at trying to develop. At the same time, keeping what is really our core beliefs in the game, core structures within the game.
And so what about the 4 uncapped names in the squad? Hugh Blake, Hamish Watson, Sam Hidalgo-Klein and Ben Toulis.
It's a good opportunity to see them now during this competition to get a real idea of where they're going. In all those players, you see a desire to be part of the landscape, and they're playing well. If they can bring that attitude into this group and create and develop what is already a positive dynamic within the group, I mean, that's great. That's going to help moving to the World Cup. It gives us more options. Ben Toulis, I think, like I said, he's one of the top ball carriers in our second rows. He's a great defender. Sam brings the kicking option. He's also very quick around rucks. It suits our type of play. If we have to change, if we have to go to a short zero-pass game around rucks, or 1 or 2, he's going to help us do that. Good box kick and a lot of enthusiasm. Hugh, very good player, highly rated in New Zealand, was involved in Super Rugby, played the final, was involved with the New Zealand under-20s in 2012 in South Africa. Very good open side, offers us genuine speed to breakdowns, very good offloader, can give us continuity in our game. Something we haven't got a genuine. Hamish is a similar, but like some of the tighter stuff as well. Hugh's a very, very quick, very skillful player, and he generally gets 2 to 3 turnovers per game, which is, if we can have someone that can change the course of a game positively by the recovering ball and making destructive tackles, or applying pressure on playmakers that are opposite us. And I think it's good to be able to have someone with that profile. He offers us a profile that we don't have. He's obviously played against Richie McCaw. He's played against the best players in the world. He's been represented New Zealand, and he's available for Scotland. So to sit down and just generally look at what he does on the paddock, I thought it offered us something we didn't have, and I felt that we'll have a good look at him during this Six Nations. He's got Scottish ancestry, and they're very proud of it. He's very proud of it. He's a brave man. He could have stayed in New Zealand and stayed in a very secure and comfortable environment. He challenged himself to come over here, and it was a decision. Now, that type of thing I respect, and we'll have a good look at him, and I know he's very keen to put the jersey on and play well. Those types of things, I challenge all young players to get up and do your best, train your best, become the best, and you'll be noticed if you are, and take a few risks and work hard.
Vern Cotter, Scotland head coach, and that's it for Your Rugby tonight.